right government, we can manage that. So I'm hoping that the new government uh, can do that.
Yeah, it's really something how state of mind for the individual ripples out to the collective. I just find it all so interesting. But I hit the record button, so
Yeah, I
we
see that.
we might as well start talking Sid and get away from the minutia and politics and um, separate realities, how people see things differently, and go to what's underneath all of that. How do we get what we get? How do we get the human experience? And I have to be honest, I did not take my own advice, which was listening to Sid before coming on. I got all caught up in all sorts of minutia, taking care of this and taking care of that. It was fun, but it wasn't really quieting down. Did either of you take me up on that suggestion?
That's the audio tape I have in my car that I play every time I drive. And I still heard things that I'd never heard before. I mean, it's
Well,
just,
like what? Give us an example. So, I mean, how long have you been doing this? Because you're in your car, I assume at least once a week, right? Even during a
yeah,
pandemic.
yeah. I get in my car and I drive a half an hour. I go to the store and I push in the tape and just listen for a little while. And when I get out of the car, I don't remember what he said. I just know that I feel um, in touch with a space in myself that I lose. Easy to lose, easy to find, right? So I'm grateful. I have probably 15 or 20 of his old tapes that were uh, done by the foundation, a long, long time ago. So I grab one and put it in the. I have a car with a tape recorder, which tells you how old the car is. You know,
Impressive.
yeah, that is vintage. They're vintage,
Yeah, I would
Nice.
and
love to have a cassette player. I have so many in my car. I have so many tapes from George Pransky also.
yeah,
And finding a way
yeah.
to transpose an old cassette tape to a digital CD has not been easy for me.
No, it is difficult. I bought a little it's like a little cassette deck that plugs into your computer so you can transfer audio tape to digital, and that seems to work okay. It doesn't work great. Oh,
It
I
doesn't
heard
work for me.
yesterday. Have you seen the Elsie Spittle's latest tweet? Her talk. Oh, it's great. I highly recommend. And
Which one?
it's just the most recent one. It was out, I think, yesterday. I
Mhm.
don't remember the name of it, but it struck me because what she's saying is that you don't need to understand the three principles to get this. You don't need to understand the three principles to get this. This is something that we all have, and if you can find that whether or not you understand mind, thought, and consciousness. And it strikes me because that was my experience of Sid too. Is that it he was living in a space that I knew I had, and I didn't understand very much of what he said, but I understood the truth of that space,
The feeling,
the
right?
feeling. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great.
That's
Yeah, the
understandable,
feeling.
right? Not
Yeah,
through the intellect, but we can all understand the feeling. We all get that.
yeah.
I love what you said a little bit ago, Alan, if I could recapture it. before we started talking about Elsie, how it's the space inside, that space that we're talking about now, that quiet place, the place of love, really. It's so easily lost, but also so easily found. You just said that a little bit ago.
Mhm.
That's so profound, really. What do you think, Pallavi?
I was thinking about what Ellen said, that you don't need to understand the principles to get that,
Right.
which I totally agree in a feeling sense. But I was thinking about how it's interesting to me because this feeling, this feeling of when you're talking about hanging out with Sid or listening to him, I experienced in a way the same feeling also with other spiritual masters, like with Osho, where I've been for a few years. And also it's what I hear from all the people, like my husband used to live there and take care of Osho's garden. And they were all
Mm.
in this feeling of being in love with the space. And so to me, it's interesting that in a way, this feeling isn't completely new. Like I've felt that consciously before, but for me, in a way, the combination of, like, I felt like in a year ago in the beginning when I first heard about the 3P, to me it was very helpful in the beginning to also understand at least thought, this idea of thought and feeling your thinking, and this was kind of maybe it's like I was in understanding this, it created a space in me to be more open to the simplicity of this message of you just basically need to be in this feeling, or look for this feeling. But there's something, yeah, that's just what's coming up for me, that I feel a helpfulness or worse in both sides of it, or however you want to call it.
Pallavi, is it the idea of the principles that enables you to find that space again, or is it something else?
Something else. It's that I always had times of experiencing this quiet space, but I never understood that it's okay to stay there. I always thought I needed to get back and figure out my problems with my intellectual mind. And somehow, in what Hannah told me about the principles, or I can't remember what really happened in the sessions, but I understood something new about that my personal mind is not the one who's running life. Like, stuff will still happen and I will have new ideas and motivations and do stuff, and without trying to figure it all out. So it's like I understood for the first time that it's really okay to rest more in that space, and if a problem shows up, that it's more helpful to look into that space, to the quiet space, than to go into more thinking. And in a way, I never understood that before. It was more like, okay, you can meditate an hour a day or whatever, and then it calms you down. But I didn't see the creativity that's in there, in wisdom, in this quiet space, the aliveness and everything.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That
Very
is
cool. Very cool.
so close to my experience also. I don't know if I had mentioned before, but right before, maybe 5 years before I went to my first Sid Banks talk, I had been reading all of, like, Osho or the Tao Te Ching, or it was very popular in that era. I think, also in Oregon, I think similar to San Francisco, where I was in the late 70s, early 80s. And it wasn't even until later, past the first few lectures I heard from Sid, that he started talking about the three principles. And that grounded things for me. That helped me see what others were reading, writing, and speaking about. So much more. Like, I picked up in one of the other three principles Facebook groups, one of the really big ones, can't remember who it was. Somebody was talking about Joel Goldsmith. The people I was around, like Scott Rebholz and Kim Kadu and people like that, you know, in the mid 80s, when I first met Sid, they were all reading Joel Goldsmith's, gosh, I can't remember the name of the book now. Do you remember, Alan?
No.
Oh, The Infinite Way.
The Infinite Way. Yeah.
So she was saying this person in the Facebook group said that she got so much reading Joel Goldsmith after learning from Sid. So I went back to that book I had so many years ago and I picked it up and I got bored within three pages. I wanted to go read Sid. I didn't want to keep reading Joel Goldsmith. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. To me, everything I need was in what Sid uncovered. You know, it's always been here, but the way he presented it just made everything else.
You know, I'm thinking about we used to talk about the three principles as for some people being an intellectual hook that they can hang their hat on. So it can be, they can be an idea, a concept that draws people back to maybe exploring who they are. Sometimes I think of the three principles as gifts, you know, the gift of mind, the gift of thought and consciousness. That is a heartfelt connection for me. So when I am conscious of the gift of thought and the gift of awareness and consciousness, that helps me take it a little distance from the conceptual, intellectual piece. That's my connection. That's my connection. I think it may be because I spent so many years teaching the principles conceptually. See, so for me that helps.
Yeah, that's a great insight.
Thinking of them as a heartfelt truth, you know,
or divine mind, divine consciousness, divine thought.
Yeah.
I love, you know, Judy or Bill talking about, just call it Moe, Larry, and Curly, the three stooges, you know, the names of the three stooges. If the words confuse you or get you up in your head, I just love the fact that they explain, they point to, they're pointers for me, that they point to what's behind the scenes. How did I get to having a human experience? They explain how we get a human experience through the gift of thought, the gift of consciousness, and that all of that comes from infinite, unlimited potential that Sid called big mind, divine mind. I mean, that's divine. That's really, wow.
You know, it's funny when you're saying they explain it, right? Like what's funny to me is, yeah, they explain it in a way, like in an intellectual way, you can say, but there's an end to it. Like at some point you notice they don't really explain anything because you need the feeling, you know, you need to see it in yourself. But in a way they explain it enough that it kind of blanks out the mind, you know, the mind can't go anywhere anymore because it's all thought and you kind of understand the concept. So, and like to me it feels this way, and I feel like during the first half year of learning I listened to so many talks and podcasts and, you know, trying to understand and everything, and I had some cool insights and saw things, but my mind would go nuts again and again, was trying to figure it out. And it took me a while to get a little bit more understanding, or I don't know, really resting in this knowing that you can't figure it out, and you know, like it doesn't work. So since summer, I guess I started listening to the old Sid talks. I was talking to Ellen about this at some point. And I love these old talks where he doesn't even uses the words of mind, thought, and consciousness. And he just talks about God and soul and spirit and the Holy Spirit, and these talks are so heartfelt to me, and it's so easy to drop into a nice space with them. And yeah, it's just really, really fascinating. But I also think, like, I see this in the group, in the Facebook group, when people are dealing with pain and are really feeling they need to understand it to get better, and they need to find a way to get better. Like, they go totally nuts on the principles and on this mental concept of, I need to get this concept, and, you know, like trying to understand it intellectually. But I also think it's just something we do, like we tend to do that as humans, and it's really a new experience to learn that you don't need to do it. Like, I always thought that's a responsible way to live, you know, like to figure stuff out and to really think about it.
Yeah. You know what happens for me? Like, I'll be in my life and something will happen and I take it, um, like with a grain of salt, or I see the beauty in it, or it doesn't bother me like it would have in the past. And then I realize, wow, that's mind, thought, and consciousness. And in action, and it's my understanding that we feel what we think, and thought passes. It doesn't linger any longer than I cause it to linger by hanging on to it. And it doesn't mean anything except for the meaning I stamp on it. So I'll give you a little quick example and tell me if I've already said this. I may have, I've shared it with a few people because it was just so profound for me. But I spent Thanksgiving alone in a pandemic. And not only, I live alone, I'm not being with family. They have younger kids, and I can't really trust, what they're doing in school and all of that. So I'm fine with it. I can Zoom with my nieces, and it's okay. But I woke up feeling like I'm alone. Oh my gosh, on Thanksgiving. So I knew enough to take a walk in my favorite park. And this park was so desolate. It was like a horror movie. I could almost hear that music in the background of the beginning of a horror movie. It was so desolate. This park, which is teeming with life and activity, basketball players and tennis players on the courts and pickleball players. I mean, teeming. There's even a little baseball diamond. I guess it can't be little, it has to be measured correctly. But you get the picture. So nobody was there. And all of a sudden, I get this idea. I'm going to videotape this, just on my phone. I'm going to and it was like, boom, that one thought shifted everything. And I hearkened back to Sid saying, we're always one thought away from a better experience. It went from black to white. I mean, that's how enormous it was. And I don't know that that would have happened for me. I'm pretty certain it would not have happened for me when I look back to pre-SID days, pre-three principles days, whatever you want to call it. It's how we see that life is, there's no words for it. There's just no words for it. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of. That was another thing that came to me. I could be so lonely and alone and sad and depressed and not be afraid of it. And then it's gone with a different thought that just happens to come. Like, why don't you film this? Why don't you videotape it? That was it. I was in heaven. And then it became this amazing journey to be in this space. It's never going to be this uncrowded again. I don't think. It was a really rainy, miserable day, so that kept people away. And it was Thanksgiving. They were with their families. I don't know that was like a once in a lifetime experience. that one thought shifted everything. And I wasn't looking for a thought. I wasn't looking for a better thought. It happened. But when it happened, I recognized it. I didn't push it away like, well, that's nice, but does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm thinking that, I keep talking about the old days. Maybe that's because I'm old. But the
I'm right behind you, Alan.
the we use a lot of metaphors to try to teach the principles. And I remember like the metaphor of a clock. Once you understand how a clock works, it makes more sense. And what I'm thinking is that I wrote Perfect Misfortune, and not consciously doing this, but wanting to create something in the world that would help people find the feeling of the gifts of mind, thought, and consciousness, not a concept that would enable them to hang their hat on the three principles. And I'm thinking that I'm doing a short piece for Richard Mayer, who's doing a book called Essa. And it's so important to use words and write in a way that causes people to feel that space. And I like writing because I can sit down and not be feeling great and relax into that space, and the words just flow. The words just flow. And it's easier when I write than when I'm at the grocery store shopping, and people are walking within 6 feet of me with no masks. you know,
Well, yeah, you get thoughts about how dare they, right?
you think, yeah. Anyway, just the thoughts about that space and finding it and losing it, I guess.
Yeah. It's like going in and out. Really, it's
Yeah, I
like
mean,
going.
I just think I still have sometimes this idea that I mean, I guess a lot of us have, that we would like to stay in the out, or in space, like in the nice space. But I'm also seeing more and more that once you understand this natural flow and how it works, and that nothing, like you said, like not being scared of the experience, it gets way easier to relax with it. And then it gets less sticky, like the the not so nice parts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's really
So
interesting.
true.
And I love what you shared, Laurie, about this one new thought. It's so funny sometimes, right? Like you can completely get out of something. Like yesterday evening, I got really angry with my husband without any reason, like just this thing of coming home from work and getting too many questions and stuff. It was so funny because I could really feel this, like why I feel this feeling wise in me, like this anger. And then it really like took a second and it was just gone, because I saw it and I knew it. And yeah, it was, and like you said, wasn't even looking for a new thought, because it wasn't scary that it was there. It was fine. Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, Sometimes I also get in there, but it's also about like letting go of my own timeline, how long it should last or shouldn't last, and letting go of all these ideas, how it should look or feel. Like I feel it's so much about, sorry, I have to find my cable, my battery is empty. it seems to be so much about letting go and surrendering to what is. Like when Sid talks about the isness of thing, of the isness is God in motion. Like I love that. There's such a sweetness in this being more open to how life is and not putting my judgment on every single little thing that shows up. Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the self-judgment. I'm looking outside. It's snowing right now. It's beautiful,
Oh,
and
Nice.
it's got a
Oregon.
outside has a
Eugene.
nice. It's yeah, it has a nice feeling, and I remember being so self-judgmental about leaving that feeling. You know, kind of like, oh no, oh no, where did it go? Where did it go? And sometimes uh, it went away for uh, a long time. You know, it whether or not I was um, orienting myself towards the 3P community or Sid's work, that feeling still came and went, came and went, came and went. And like you were saying, Pallavi, it's the principles and Sid um, gave me a way to come back more consistently,
Mm.
just more consistently. Um, yeah,
And more gracefully. I would say for myself, it just feels
yeah.
like moving through life so much more gracefully. I posted in my Instagram a saying of George Pransky's, which I love. He said, "The trick to life is being grateful for your highs and graceful with your lows."
Ooh,
Mm.
Isn't that beautiful?
that's on my refrigerator.
Yeah, he has a talk, right? Like doing down gracefully or something like that. A very nice talk by George.
Doing down gracefully, yeah.
That's
Isn't
funny.
that funny?
George lives on the front door of my refrigerator.
Nice.
That's funny.
Another one that struck me that I'm posting soon. I don't know, it might be going out today on my Instagram, is something that I heard on one of Dell's talk shows, insightful conversations she did with Deborah Altman, I think is her last name, Barron. She's got two last names. And Deborah was talking about in Kabbalah, there's a saying that is, there is no good or bad.
Oh
There's
yeah, I saw
only
that.
good and concealed good. Whoa,
Hmm.
that's heavy.
Yeah, I saw that too, but I really find this interesting because that is what I mean when Sid talks about the isness of things and God is what is and seeing the perfection in the imperfection. Like this is such a big thing, like to really start to see that. Like it's so, I feel like it takes away all the fear also because it's in my trying to get it all to be in a certain way and avoid certain situations, there's all this fear and resistance. And when I start questioning that judgment and considering that it's all okay, like everything that's happening inside and outside of me, and it's like a pretty big key to more peace and less fear and more time, less jobs, and like I sometimes feel like there are so many little points you could pick out, like of the teaching or George saying or whatever. And like, if you really let them in or feel them, it's like it answers all the questions in once. Like you know what I mean? You can answer all the questions from certain different points. I don't know.
It's not such a mystery anymore.
Mm.
life and things in it. Yeah, it's amazing how much can be explained by understanding how we work. That's what the three principles say to me. It just points to how we work, how we get an experience of life, of reality.
Yeah, but yeah. Mm.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. Really, when you're not afraid of feeling bad or anxious or depressed or whatever, it doesn't last long. And in fact, it's more interesting. Like instead of being afraid of these different emotions and feelings, I just find it fascinating. Like, wow, I get to experience the pits right now. And I know I'm not going to die from it. I know it's not going to last forever. This is kind of cool. I could do the pits for a while, for as long as it
Yeah,
lasts.
but I sometimes feel like, to me, it only seems to work with this spiritual understanding of not really being completely identified with this body and this life. Because when people start asking questions, because the body isn't always safe and it isn't always okay and it can die, and so I feel, also to myself, it only makes sense in this bigger picture, of what we really are, where we're really coming from. And even if I don't really, I can't really say that I know that, or, I just have little glimpses of feeling something about that space. But um, yeah, I just was interested if it feels the same for you guys, that the 3P, in a way, like it includes this understanding. It doesn't make sense without it for me.
Right, right.
This day after tomorrow, I'm going to have a procedure at the doctor's, and I'm anxious about that procedure. And the way that this helps me isn't necessarily to um, eliminate my anxiety,
Mm.
but here's what it helps me do. It helps me go, there you go, Alan. It's okay. You were raised with anxiety being an emotion that you needed to pay attention to.
Mm.
And it's okay. Go ahead and feel anxious, my friend.
Mm.
You know, and that's the way this helps.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
and I hope the procedure is going to be successful, of course. You know, we can always hope.
Of course. We will send some good vibes for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
right.
you. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Good
that.
vibes your way. Absolutely. Yeah.
A few days ago, I had a nice talk with my husband. He actually listens to Sid too. That's nice, so we can share a bit. He
Mm,
likes listening to him. And I don't know what we were talking about, a bit about the free will idea and where that is and blah, blah. But it was funny because it was just a sweet talk. And afterwards, I had this moment where I suddenly thought, like, I don't think there really is suffering inherent in life. Like, it felt to me like, I know there's pain and loss and everything, but it just felt like the suffering is always kind of made up here, and also this continuancy of the stories. Like, I often see for myself that there's way more suffering when I talk about or think about, like, the consistency of, I had pain for 5 years. It's a whole completely different thing than, oh, I might have a little pain right now. And it
mhm.
just felt to me like maybe it's never really in the moment. Maybe it's always in the story we tell about it.
Mm,
What do you guys think about that?
yeah.
I would agree. I would definitely agree.
Mm,
It's the story we make up about it.
mm,
right? You know, that's like, if you look at life as there's only good and concealed good, which is like Dr. Pettit's idea about love letters, right? Pain, anxiety, stress, depression, they're all love letters alerting us to something that we need to take care of, right? If we didn't have physical pain, we wouldn't know to go to a doctor. We wouldn't know to, you know, go to a chiropractor or whatever, wherever you go, when, depending on what the pain is. Love
And that,
letters from the universe.
and that would be okay with me, Lori. I
What's
just
that,
want to
Alan?
I want not having any pain would be okay with me. I
That would
want you
be
to
okay
know
with you.
that.
Well, that's coming, right? That's coming.
Yeah, I know. I know.
When we leave this body, no more pain. I can wait for that, you know?
Yeah.
If this experience of life entails, who goes through life without pain? No human. There has been no human. Some bring it on themselves, like, you know, Mahatma Gandhi, just not eating to protest.
I don't really like the love letters metaphor. For some reason, I think I hear it from some strange way of thinking. But what I always hear is there's something wrong, you're doing something wrong. So that's why life or mind or whoever is alerting you with this love letter to take care of something. So, and then I feel, okay, I'm doing everything I know to do, you know, like taking care, listening to good stuff, whatever, you know what I mean? And then keep getting those love letters, you know? So I think, okay, why do I keep getting them? There are other people more stressed than me, or, you know? So this is the
Send your
way
love
I
somewhere
hear it.
else.
Yeah, right. Do you know what I mean? Or is it just like really so specially my way of thinking that I hear it that way?
Yeah, that isn't that interesting that you have those thoughts attached to the simple two words, love letter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you have those thoughts attached to it. Wow, that's really fine. You know, that love letter is criticizing me.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So I found different metaphors for me. Like I look at it in a different way, and that's fine. That works better. But it would just interest me from other people who experience pain. Do you get what I mean, or does it just sound completely different to you?
I can see how, if I had that thought about the two words love letter, I would say, oh, I don't want to know those words, you know. Keep those words to yourself. I said something to somebody. I said, this was through email. I said, because she expressed going through something, I said, well, I hope you're getting good sleep and eating and eating well. You know, when you're upset about something, you don't eat well. She was so upset. She said, you don't know, I have an eating disorder. And so to say, I hope you sleep well and eat well, it's
Right.
like a slap in the face to somebody. I didn't know she had an eating disorder. So you can see that, you know, my innocence, but isn't that something? Like if we had to think about how the other person was going to take this, we would like not say anything. We
No.
would be totally, oh, better not say anything because I might be saying something that'll be offensive.
Yeah.
Anything we think or say could be offensive to somebody else.
Mm.
I've learned in the when I've done counseling to mostly just shut up. You know?
Zip it, lock it, and put in your pocket. I learned that from a
Right.
13-year-old client. Zip it, lock it, and put it in your pocket. Oh my goodness. But, we can't go through life thinking about how somebody's going to take it. But what a gift when they tell us how they took it, right? That's a gift. Because we can't apologize or say, oh, I had no idea and I didn't know you were suffering in that way.
Oh, sorry,
No, no,
Flavia.
go on.
I'm getting better at this. When I see somebody who's angry or irritated, what I see is suffering and pain. I can take it personally sometimes, but not for very long. Because mostly what I see is a person who is suffering and they're angry because they're suffering. And that helps me find that a little piece of that space again and open up to what they're saying. I mean, I know that's true for me. Boy, if I get irritated or frustrated or angry, I'm suffering. You know?
Me too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
In that moment.
In that moment.
And it's so great, Alan and Pallavi, that we can interact with someone we know is suffering and feel compassion for them because we've been there. We know what that's like. So you really feel for them. And you also know that they're totally healthy, that they're fine, perfect. They have innate health.
Yeah.
So, the two side by side. What other insights have come to you? Like Alan, you were saying that you're listening to these old tapes of Sid's in a half an hour car ride and you still hear something new. Do you remember anything you heard new that you hadn't heard in all the other times you listened?
No, what I hear is that there's a space inside me and inside us that is safe and protected and loved and loving. And that's why I don't remember the words, is because the words are irrelevant to that space. So I am, for however long, 3 minutes or a half an hour or however long, healed, spiritually and emotionally healed. But that's also why I don't remember the inside, because it almost feels like a betrayal to try to hang on to that inside, because it came from such a wonderful place. So forget the inside. Be with the place. Anyway.
Oh, I love that. What you that it feels almost like a betrayal. It's really, yeah. I can feel what you mean, I think.
I try to make if I try to make a concept of the inside, again, I have
What
to
are
go,
it?
Alan. I have to go, Alan, come on. Easy, buddy.
And it would water it down then. It would water down your experience if you tried to hang on to it or.
Last week I was in a call with Nicola Bird, I think, and she gave a very sweet metaphor for this, because people were asking, like, I feel I forget my insides or blah, blah, blah. And she said, think of it as being like a portal. Every insight is a portal and it opens for you to go through and then it closes again. And that's fine because you already go to the next portal. You don't need the old insights anymore. And I find this quite a nice picture.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
like a doorway.
Yeah.
I don't get also too. I remember Sid saying once that that you can have big insights or little insights. Most of us have little insights. That's like over the years, little insights, and I feel really fortunate to have lived long enough and having been exposed to this that that those insights have grown over the years because I've been wishing for the big one. I've been hoping for the big one. Hasn't happened yet, but the little ones are healing as well. So
Yeah, and maybe it's our judgment about what's little and what's big, right?
yes, yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true.
My husband is complaining about that too. He said, I don't want the Satoris, I want the Samadhi, like the big experience. I was signing up for that. Mm.
So funny. We humans. So funny. And that's something too, is, just having a sense of humor about where our thinking can go. It's like, oh my God, are you kidding?
Okay.
So,
This is also something I feel where it feels like I don't take my opinions so serious anymore, because I kind of start to see it's never true, like because every opinion, every word is a concept, and it's never really even what I feel, and it isn't close to what's really true. And I find this really relaxing, to not have to be so serious and hold on to your opinion, your standpoint, your point of view so much. I mean, of course, I care about stuff, but I don't have to fight intellectually about the thing. And yeah, it's very nice. It's like a nicer feeling, nicer space to live in.
I think it's very discouraging. I find this happening all the time. I express an opinion, and when I actually say it, I think, what in the heck was that? That is the dumbest opinion I have ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You reminded me of Tom Kelly, Alan, his story in the book Chris and I wrote, The Secret of Love. It is hysterical. He has this deal with his wife that when he does something stupid, he goes to her and he says, oh, I was really a stupid male, wasn't I? And she says, yep. And she puts out her hand and he writes her a check.
Ooh,
Because
great
Asian women
great
don't like
idea.
flowers, they don't like candy, they want money. So he writes her a check, the stupid man check. I mean, isn't that funny that they have that cute little
That's a
thing
great
they pay
idea.
them?
That is a great idea.
I know I was a stupid man. Oh,
Yeah.
so much better than an apology, right? Well, I guess that's a judgment. It's all how you look at it, right? Some people love apologies. Yeah, bring it
I
on.
like the humor of it. I like
Yeah.
the humor of it, and the humility of it, and the humor of it. So it's a great idea.
Yeah, we got to take ourselves with a grain of salt, take ourselves lightly.
Oh,
Well, you guys, so this is number
oh,
6 of this session.
Yeah.
But boy, it went by so fast, didn't it?
yeah.
So send me your post test and I'll make an announcement on the Facebook group for everybody, because
Yeah.
It's so great that we got those 2 surveys from Tom, and he's going to, research it, do a comparison. So also when you send it in, let me know what other 3 principles groups you're doing, because that could also affect it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I
Pierre,
love these conversations, Lori.
Yeah.
I love these conversations. I've been in other groups some large, some small Zoom groups, right? 3 principle-based groups. And this, our conversations here have been the deepest
Oh,
and,
that's
and
so
the
nice
most,
to
and the
hear.
most touching. So I thank you. Thank you
Oh.
for doing this.
Well, you're welcome. You're a lifer now. You're in for life.
Lifer.
So any time, I'll be posting a new time though, because I like whatever new group comes in, I'd like to find a time of day and day of week that works for the majority of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to say thank you too, Laurie. I really enjoyed this, and I also really like this talks. And I appreciate the opportunity to hear from people who have been with Sid when he in the early times, but also like, yeah, the sharing, and it was really, really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I love this too. I feel like when Sid said, "Why did this happen to me?" I feel like that this idea, well, part of it came from Bill Pettit when Bill said during his online course, the beginning of the pandemic, when he said, people have to read Sid Bangs more than once. You got to read the same book more as often as you can because you hear and see something new. And I know I had told that to clients for years. I recommended that they read Sid, listen to Sid, and some took me up on it and some did not. The ones who did went further faster with their lightening up, whether they came to me for depression, anxiety, stress, marital problems, you name it, they found more relief. And so when they meet with me, we're talking about what they're finding, what they're learning, what they're seeing new. So
Yeah, I also thought like Bill Petit talks so often about this, right? That he only works with clients when they first read all the Sid books, and I always thought that's a good idea, good plan.
yeah. And so the rest of it just kind of came out of the big blue sky, so to speak. It just came out of nowhere and it fell into place. Yeah. And thank Hannah. Well, I know I'll be talking to you anyway, but I feel really grateful to Hannah. She sent Pallavi and Teresa and
No, you got that wrong. She didn't. I sent Hannah to you months back to contact you for your show, and I invite Flick and Teresa to the mystery school. But I thank Hannah anyway because Hannah got me to the principal. So
oh, isn't that great how that happened? So you saw it on one of the Facebook groups when I invited people to be in my panel.
yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that and asked Hannah if it might be interesting for her. So because I was working with her, and that's how she found you. And I saw the mystery school thing too in a Facebook group, and I just thought it sounds so great to just stay on the Sid materials. And yeah.
Oh, so great. Well, thank you. And that's what it takes, just one person, and just things magically happen. Really, it's like magic how it unfolds.
This has been very special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Ellen,
Thank you.
and good luck. Best wishes to you in 2 days.
Yes.
Keep us posted
Yes.
on our Facebook group.
I'm very hopeful.
Like, give us a time and we could all send you love vibes.
Love letters.
If that works.
You can send me love letters. I don't think so. Thank you.
Love vibes, no letters.
Love vibes.
Love vibes. Yes. Thank
you. We got to keep each other laughing,
Yeah.
Yes.
We all go through stuff.
Yes,
we
indeed.
all go through stuff. The joys of being human. Woo woo.
Yes.
Woo.
All right, lovies. Take care.
Thank you.
And
thank you, guys.
See you in the Facebook group.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.